As the International Hot Rod Association arrives at Rockingham, North Carolina, there are championships waiting to be won. Native Tar Heel Ricky Smith needs only a semifinal round victory to clinch his second Pro Stock World Championship. Texan Gene Snow has been in the driver's seat for his first IHRA Pro Nitro World title since mid-season. If he picks up his third win of the season here at Rockingham, Snow will become the first Pro Nitro Dragster World Champion in the newly reintroduced class since 1983. Ohio's Mark Oswald is one of only 2 drivers to win IHRA titles in both Nitro Dragsters and Funny Cars. A victory at today's U.S. Open Nationals would make him the first to win 3 straight IHRA World titles in any class. The quarter-mile strip awaits here at Rockingham. And you will flip over IHRA World Championship drag racing on ESPN. ESPN, the world leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. It has been a gray and rainy weekend at the Rock, Rockingham, North Carolina, but the skies are slowly clearing, and we expect great action as championships await at the U.S. Open Nationals. Hello, everyone. I'm Bob Varsho, welcoming you to Rockingham, North Carolina for our coverage of the IHRA U.S. Open Nationals. With me is the IHRA's Ted Jones. And Ted, we've already seen Mark Oswald pick up his Pro Nitro Funny Car Championship just by qualifying for this meet, but he might not win the race.
Indeed, he might not. Paul Smith has beaten Mark before, and Paul Smith ran 274 miles an hour in qualifying. Gene Snow could wrap up the IHRA World Championship in Pro Nitro Dragster right here today, as could Ricky Smith. But Ricky had trouble making the field at the last event up at Norwalk, Ohio. However, at Rockingham, Ricky can do no wrong. Bob Glidden, on the other hand, has always been trouble-plagued here at Rockingham. So it could be anybody's race in Pro Stock.
Indeed, and Brent Kepner will be covering all the action from trackside. Let's get his thoughts on today's events right now.
The IHRA U.S. Open Nationals is the next to last event on the IHRA World Championship Series trail. Because of that, there's an awful lot of pressure on each and every racer in the professional and sportsman categories, especially those who are involved in World Championship points chases. We'll be seeing chases in 3 of our professional categories here this afternoon. However, keep in mind that Mark Oswald in the Candies and Hughes Ford Motorcraft Thunderbird Pro Nitro Funny Car has already wrapped up that world title just by qualifying. Back to you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, Brett. It should be an exciting afternoon. The U.S. Open Nationals IHRA Championship Drag Racing is brought to you by Motorcraft. Quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. They exceed the need. And by Drag Review. All you need to know about drag racing. As the skies slowly clear over Rockingham, North Carolina, we await the start of quarterfinal action in Pro Alcohol Funny Cars. Coming up, it's the IHRA on ESPN. Back at the Rock, Rockingham International Raceway, where we're ready for quarterfinal action in the Pro Alcohol Funny Cars. And in the near lane, you see Bob Newberry, points leader, coming into Rockingham.
Bob Newberry needs a win right here very badly, having been upset just a few weeks ago at Norwalk, and he's running Herb Rogers, the Canadian.
Herb Rogers out of London, Ontario. You see him take the long burnout there to get those tires up to operating temperatures. Long burnout for Herb Rogers, 6th qualifier for this event.
Bob Newberry is leading the IHRA points and is the lower qualifier here of the two, so should win this one. However, I'm sure Herb Rogers has upset on his mind.
Bob Newberry out of Schenectady, New York, looking for a victory after an off weekend at Norwalk, Ohio. The green flashes and they're away. Good start in the far lane for Rogers.
Rogers out in front. Here comes Newberry trying to get him. Oh, who was it? Herb Rogers. Herb Rogers has upset Bob Newberry. Absolutely incredible. Watch him as they come off the line now.
But take another look as Rogers gets the whole shot on points leader Newberry. Down the long strip, he's able to hold that advantage, but watch as Newberry comes on strong at the big end. Wow.
And Rogers winning with a 6.47, 212.76 mile per hour to Newberry's losing 650.
And down comes the bodywork now on the only champion alcohol funny cars I've ever known, Bunny Burkett out of Sterling, Virginia. She will face this man, Pete Gallen from Newton Square, Pennsylvania. Number 5 qualifier Burkett, number 4 qualifier Gallen.
Bunny Burkett has been just a little off the pace this year, but looking better each and every race. Pete Gallen, a steady competitor on the IHRA trail, is no one to take lightly. However, everybody would like to bump off the world champ.
Bunny Burkett with a little close, a little faster. E.T. coming in, but off the line. Bunny Burkett with a whole shot, but she's got a race on her hands, and it looks like Peter Gallen's got it.
Peter Gallen has done it. He's upset the IHRA world champion, Bunny Burkett. Watch them now as they leave the line once again together. Bunny actually leaves the line first. Here comes Gallen trying to track her down. Now it's horsepower time as they reach out on the top end. There's nothing they can do. Puts to the floor. Who has the most horsepower? Pete Gallen pulls it out with an excellent 6.51, 219.51 miles per hour.
Gallen almost hurt himself there as you saw the chute come out just as he hit the timing lights. Ready for our next quarterfinal action. Greg Moss picking up the pace out of Fenton, Missouri. The number 2 qualifier. He'll be facing number 7 man Charlie Byers out of San Antonio, Texas.
Greg Moss finished number 2 in the world last year, so he's not to be taken lightly, Bob.
All right, Moss is to the line, Byers is to the line, and Byers gets away.
We got a red light.
Red light, Charlie Byers in the near lane, a yellow car, red light at the start, and so Greg Moss will move on into the semis.
And look at the time on Greg Moss, an excellent 6.58, 208.81 miles per hour. Watch them now, and there you see Byers leaving early and kicking on that red light.
Okay, don't mess with Texas. The words on the escape hat for Dal Denton out of Del Valley, Texas, and he'll be up against this guy, Don DeFluter, the number 1 qualifier in the Alcohol Pro Funny Car class.
Now remember, Bob Newberry has already been eliminated earlier in the race, so this is a real important round for Don DeFluter if he's to make any points game.
And the green light they're away, and a great start for DeFluter. He's got a car length on Denton. As they make their way to the big end, it's going to be Don DeFluter. Moving on to the semifinals, big opportunity for him to score some points against Bob Newberry.
And look at the ET and speed for DeFluter. He has got that car running a 6.46, 215.
And so here's the way they'll match up in Pro Alcohol Funny Car semis. Don DeFluter and Pete Gallen in one bracket. Look for Greg Moss and Herb Rogers in the other. Now we're ready for quarterfinal action in the Pro Stock class, and you're looking at the defending IHRA World Champion Ricky Smith getting the tires warm. His opponent, Jim Ruth out of Moorhead, Kentucky.
This is the fastest all-pure Pontiac Pro Stocker in the world, Bob, and believe me, he'll give Ricky Smith plenty of trouble.
Mentioned Smith is the defending champion. He is the points leader coming into this race at Rockingham. You get a good look at him there as he takes aim on the Christmas tree. The green is up and they're away. Great start for Smith.
Ricky Smith chopped the tree down on Jimmy Ruth, out on him all the way through. No contest, actually. Ricky Smith, one incredible run. Ricky Smith is back 7.41 at 188 mile an hour.
And you saw that distinctive hump to the runoff area here at Rockingham. The next pair, we'll see Carl Kirk.
Kirk driving for the Penny's Brothers Construction Company. He'll be going up against Ed Dixon, the Collier Steel Thunderbird. 2 Ford Thunderbirds on the line.
Dixon, the number 2 qualifier out of Kermit, West Virginia. Dixon, the number 7 qualifier, Marlin Hartz, Missouri. Kirk with a great start.
Look at that car move on the top end. Carl Kirk through first, 7.38 seconds. That's quicker than Ricky Smith, 189.04 miles per hour. Wow, do we have a race in our hands, and this young Carl Kirk is quick on the starting line.
Time now for our next set. This is Bob Olson out of Elgin, Illinois, the number 3 qualifier, and he will be facing Billy Ewing, a name familiar to drag racing fans across the country, out of Snellville, Georgia, the number 6 qualifier.
The Ewing and Ewing team never to be taken lightly. Lamar Ewing does all the wrenching on the brother team. Gary Stewart and Bob Olson also plenty tough on the trail. They're ready.
I'm getting the impression that the left lane, the far lane, appears to be the faster, and Bob Olson is sure making it look like that. He's got the lead, and he holds it all the way to the finish and triumphs over Billy Ewing. Another happy pit crew.
Bob Olson with a 7.40, 189 mile an hour. Bob, these guys are cranking out 740s like it's nothing.
Well, we always expect great competition in pro stock. We've sure been getting it. Now there's a good look through the windshield at the winningest driver in the history of drag racing from Whiteland, Indiana, the number 1 qualifier at Rockingham, Bob Glidden.
Glidden driving the potent Motorcraft Thunderbird. He'll be going up against Dean Goforth.
Goforth out of Holdenville, Oklahoma, the number 8 qualifier. But boy, you've got to go a long way in the pro stock field to get away from the leaders. Glidden hesitates.
Yeah, Glidden has a problem. Glidden lifts. Now Glidden's back in it.
Goforth had a problem. I don't know if he was looking out his window or what, but a tremendous lucky break for Bob Glidden, the top qualifier. He was nearly out of it. Watch at the right part of your screen as he hesitates and the wheel comes down, then back up. But by then, Goforth's got the advantage. Then Goforth swerves sharply left and right, and Bob Glidden gets handed a quarterfinal victory.
I don't think Goforth knew Glidden was right beside him. Glidden, the racer that he is, says never say die, had to get back in it, and it paid off this time.
Boy, I guess there you see the number 786, 186 miles an hour for Bullet Bob Glidden out of Whiteland, Indiana. Now here's the way they'll line up for the Pro Stock semis. Bob Glidden and Ricky Smith, the Motorcraft T-Bird teammates. In the other semi bracket, we'll see Carl Kirk and Bob Olson. We have plenty more International Hot Rod Association racing still to come. Stay with us from Rockingham, North Carolina. Right up, the biggest and baddest of them all, the Pro Nitro Funny Cars.
Okay, enough to see. Okay, mag wire's on, starter's on. Open it up. Hit it.
One of the several dozen Pro Nitro Funny Cars at this event has been featured on ESPN before, but it still warrants special attention. Owned and maintained by the only blind man in all of motorsports, Dave Edstrom and his driver, young son Mike, are here this weekend to try and qualify their Blind Faith Pontiac into this field. And Dave, the car's been running stronger than it ever has the last few weeks.
Yeah, we've been looking real good. Mike's been doing an excellent job driving, and I think we got it now.
Well, the car's been running in the low 6-second zone, but you're here really to expressly run your first 5-second run.
We just been sneaking up on it, you know. We want to take things nice and easy. The motor's been real rich and everything, and I think we're going to do okay now.
Well, a man who has overcome many difficulties, including many that would keep most of us out of everyday life, let alone the sport of drag racing, is here to win.
Well, it's certainly one thing to overcome a disability, and it's another to have a sense of humor about it. Notice the name of the team on the crewman's T-shirts, Blind Faith. And Mike Edstrom's going to need all of his brother Dave's ability. He's up against this guy, Paul Smith, the number 3 qualifier out of Boynton Beach, Florida. There you see Edstrom backing Blind Faith into position. We talked with Paul Smith a little bit earlier about the relationship between race tires and car setup.
See the car spinning the tire in the middle, so we put another 2 inches of wing on the back of it, you know, to stick it harder. And that makes the car slow down on the finish line. You know what I'm saying? In other words, the speed has to drag, but we got to hook it up, you know, to run ET, because if we smoke the tires, we lose. I think I would like to run the record, but I'd rather win the race. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather run 270, but I'd rather otherwise win the race. If you smoke the tires and the other guy don't smoke the tires, you lose.
The reason Paul Smith is talking about 270 mile an hour, yesterday he qualified at 274 mile an hour.
There you see Smith in the far lane, and he does smoke the tires. Will he lose? Here comes Edstrom, but Paul Smith hangs on for a narrow victory. As you see Edstrom in the near lane there getting real squirrely at the finish.
Paul Smith with a 250-mile-an-hour run, but I'm sure he'll take it. Watch him. Edstrom leaves way early, the front end off the ground, drops it back down. Now look at Smith, starts smoking the tires, loses traction, but Paul Smith stays in it. What a driving job. Drives it out of the spinning tire situation and takes the win.
A spectacular victory for Paul Smith. On to our next quarterfinal. It'll be Scott Coletta, the number 4 qualifier out of Belleville, Michigan, son of the great drag racer Connie Coletta, up against this guy, Darrell Amberson, the number 5 qualifier out of Osseo, Minnesota.
Amberson, plenty tough this year on the IHRA trail. Scott Coletta, one good driver. Watch Coletta now as he starts breaking loose. He's weaving all over the place. Can he pull it back? No, sir.
But Scott Coletta came very close to taking that race back. What a spectacular performance by Coletta in the left lane in a losing effort. Let's see it again.
Watch Scott Coletta now charging down. He starts breaking loose. The tire spinning violently right here. Now he's weaves. He's completely out of shape, almost across the center line. Stays in it, however, gets it straightened out and zips on to victory.
Well, I stand corrected. Scotty Coletta won that race. I thought he had just flat lost it.
It was close, Bob. You couldn't tell.
Now let's bring you up on the other quarterfinal action. Doc Holliday in his heat against Steve Hodkinson came up the winner at 598, 249 miles per hour. He'll move on to the semis. In the other quarterfinal, Mark Oswald, the number 1 qualifier and defending champion, came up easy against Gary Southern out of Glendora, California, who smoked it badly and backed off. Oswald will move on to the semis as well. Make it Oswald against Scott Coletta in one bracket. Doc Holliday will meet Paul Smith in Pro Nitro Funny Car Semi number 2. We move on now to the Pro Nitro Dragster quarterfinals. There you see Michael Brotherton sitting in his car as he awaits his meeting with this man, Dan Pastorini in the Silver Bullet, former NFL quarterback turned highly successful drag racer.
You'll remember it was Pastorini that stopped Gene Snow back at the Norwalk race a couple of weeks ago, so you know that Mike Brotherton is plenty worried about this guy. Pastorini has been turning consistent 550s. Brotherton has been one of the toughest young drivers on the IHRA circuit this year.
Brotherton, the number 5 qualifier. Pastorini, the number 4 qualifier. Amazing that Dan Pastorini has become a top-flight drag racer in only his 2nd full season. He can beat anybody.
They're just about staged and ready to go. The light turns green. Here they come. Pastorini off first. What a lead, and it looks like this race is over from the start. Dan Pastorini in the Coors Silver Bullet on to victory with a 5.55, 252.80 miles per hour. Pastorini continues to crank out those consistent 550s. He is hot, Bob.
He is indeed. Moving on to our next quarterfinal matchup, John Carey out of Dover, Delaware in the number 3 qualified car, Carey Racing. Now this is a sister car to Hank Endra's machine, which was destroyed earlier this year at Milan, Michigan. There you see the man he'll face, Connie Coletta, Scott Coletta's daddy, out of Ypsilanti, Michigan, the number 6 qualifier today.
The old veteran, Connie Coletta. It looks like they're having some problem there. Connie signaling to his crew, having some kind of trouble. Now the crew begins working on the motor. Looks like they may have it solved. Coletta approaching the line, and Carey's going to take a single. There's a problem with Coletta's car.
And it's a solo run for Carey. He's going to want to get a good ET and a good speed here for lane choice for the run, and even rips his parachute. Tough driving situation here for John Carey. But there you see Connie Coletta getting out of his car, and he has got to be one frustrated muchacho right now.
Boy, is he disgusted, and we're getting the word. It's coming in. They said he ran out of gas. Coletta actually ran out of gas on the starting line. What a tough way to lose. Carey turning in a fine 5.58, 260 mile an hour, and Coletta plenty upset.
Fuel it is. Boy, Connie Coletta is angry. Now, that's normally a chore that's performed by the driver. A lot of these guys like to mix their own nitromethane solutions. But there you see, Coletta goes one way and his crew goes the other.
Well,
tough break.
Frazier, I'm sure, a little embarrassed by the whole thing, as was Scott, but that's drag racing.
Here is number 2 qualifier, Jack Ostrander, bringing those tires up over 200 degrees temperature. He will meet this man, Richard Holcomb, the number 7 qualifier out of Stockbridge, Georgia.
Richard Holcomb's car tuned by an ex-IHRA world champion, Clayton Harris. Meanwhile, Ostrander, the owner and operator, incidentally, of a bowling alley, was victorious up at Norwalk, Ohio. So you've got to say that Ostrander is the odds-on favorite in this matchup.
In fact, the number 2 qualifier out of Pontiac, Michigan, in the 300 bowl. Reference to his other businesses, and Ostrander out real big at the short end and holds it all the way down.
Holcomb having trouble once again smoking the tires about 200 feet off the line, and that was the entire story. Ostrander turns in a brilliant 5.51, 265.48 miles per hour.
Well, when things go well, they go real well. In our other quarterfinal matchup, Gene Snow out of Fort Worth, Texas, had an easy solo. His opponent, Jerry Marconi, hurt the engine badly in qualifying, could not make the start, and so Gene Snow will advance to the semifinals in the Pro Nitro Dragster class. He will meet ex-footballer Dan Pastorini. Jack Ostrander will meet John Carey in the other semifinal matchup. Plenty more racing still to come from the Rock in Rockingham, North Carolina. You're watching IHRA Championship Drag Racing on ESPN. We will be right back with semifinal action. We're back at Rockingham, North Carolina. Bob Barsha and Ted Jones with you, where we're ready for semifinal action of the Pro Alcohol Funny Cars. Now, after a long weekend of gray skies, the sun has started to come out, and that's going to change this Rockingham racetrack for our Alcohol Funny Cars and for all of the contestants here at Rockingham. Our first matchup, Herb Rogers, the Canadian, to take on this man, Greg Moss.
Greg Moss advanced into the semifinal round, defeating Charlie Byers. Moss finished number 2 last year in the points. He'll be going against Herb Rogers, the Canadian, in the Flying Glass.
Rogers defeated Bob Newberry, the points leader, to get to this place. See, they are staged, and they're away. And there's problems. Problems I see for Herb Rogers in the far lane, and Greg Moss is going to have an easy road of it to the final round. Let's take another look.
Watch Moss leaving first, cut a tremendous 0.68 reaction time light. Now just zings past Herb Rogers all the way. Rogers in frustration, it looks like, shut down after he lost traction. Greg Moss with a great 6.61 elapsed time to take the win. There you see the Greg Moss crew going down to pick up the driver on top end.
Okay, on to our next semifinal matchup in Pro Alcohol Funny Cars. It'll be Peter Gallen, the number 4 qualifier at 6.51 at 219 miles per hour. He knocked off defending world champ Bunny Burkett. He'll be up against Don DeFluter, who's looking at a great opportunity here to score points in his efforts to overhaul Bob Newberry, the points leader, who is already out of the competition.
DeFluter plenty tough in this race so far, getting into the semifinals. Let's see what happens. Remember, Pete Gallen is very upset-minded. DeFluter is a desperate man. You better believe his adrenaline is pumped.
Now we look for the left lane to be faster all day, and DeFluter gets out quickly on the left side. There he is in the white car. Can he hold the advantage? And it appears that he does.
Wow, what a close race. Don DeFluter pulls it out with a 6.42, 215 mile an hour. Pete Gallen actually left first on DeFluter off the line, cutting a 0.84 reaction time.
And here's your final round matchup in Pro Alcohol Funny Car. From Kent, Ohio, Don DeFluter. From Fenton, Missouri, Greg Moss. DeFluter, by virtue of his lower ET, will have lane choice. Now, on to the Pro Stock semifinals, and it's going to be an all-Motorcraft Thunderbird first round. Here you see Ricky Smith, the defending IHRA world champion, with a great run in the quarterfinals, up against Bob Glidden out of Whiteland, Indiana, with a 786 to get into this round. It hasn't been a good career at Rockingham for Glidden, and we asked him about it.
As always, we've had trouble getting down this racetrack. The Rock is hard for us to conquer for some reason. Yesterday, the last qualifying session, we did run a 35. We ran a 28 first round, but the sun's coming out. When the sun comes out, it's a different racetrack.
Well, Ricky Smith certainly has an advantage here as far as success in the last 5 or 6 years, and you also have had your problems, but it looks like you have things in your hand for once.
Well, we've gotten by a round. That's 1 round more than normal for Rockingham, but we'll see what happens as the race goes on.
Well, Bob Glidden better hope to get a good round because he is the only thing standing between Ricky Smith and another Pro Stock World Championship.
This has also got to be a little bit of an extra pressure in the fact that you're racing in front of your hometown fans and old friends.
Well, that don't bother us as much as this championship right now. The main thing we're looking at is that, and, you know, our friends, I know they're here and want to see us win, but we're just going to do the best we can.
Well, the best for Ricky Smith is certainly good. He and Glidden are staged, and the teammates are off.
Look at Ricky Smith. He leads the line first on Bob Glidden. Glidden starts smoking the tires. Glidden has trouble. It's going to be Ricky Smith. This is a replay of the Motorcraft Northern Nationals finals at Milan, Michigan, but it came out in reverse. Look at the jubilation by Ricky Smith's crew. They have upset Bob Glidden. The Bob Glidden jinx of Rockingham continues, Bob.
And Ricky Smith has himself another Pro Stock World Championship, and Brett Kepner is standing by with the new king.
High gear. I didn't have no high gear.
That's incredible because Glidden apparently destroyed an engine out there.
Oh, I seen me second gear pull away from him a little, and I put it in third, and looked like he kind of fell away. And then I didn't have no high gear, and I was jerking on it. So I just run it as far as I could and shut it off. I hope it didn't hurt the motor. It really started popping and banging, so.
Well, at this point, I know you're worried about the final round at this event, but Ricky, you'll be able to wear that #1 on the window for one more season. The new world champion going to the Motorcraft Ford Thunderbird team once again is you.
Well, we're proud of it. We're proud of Ford. We're proud of Motorcraft. They stuck behind us for several years, and we plan on putting that #1 on there another year.
Well, now that we've settled that simple matter of the championship, it's time for more racing. Bob Olson out of Elgin, Illinois, will meet Carl Kirk of Kermit, West Virginia.
Carl Kirk, the young driver who's doing an excellent job in this Penny's Thunderbird, turned in a great 7:38, 189 mile an hour in the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, Olson, no faulty run himself at 7:40, 189, so this could be one great drag race coming up right now.
They are staged and they are away. It's Kirk in the far lane, Olson in the near lane, and Kirk with the hole shot, but Olson coming on strong.
Kirk pulls it out on the top end with a winning 7.36. The car goes even quicker, 187.11 miles per hour, and the reaction time 0.67 to 0.66.
So your Pro Stock final will be newly crowned world champion Ricky Smith up against West Virginian Carl Kirk. Kirk, surprisingly, will have lane choice over the world champion. Plenty of racing still to come, including the Pro Nitro Dragsters. More semifinal action here on ESPN after these words. Back at Rockingham, where it is getting warmer as the sun peeks through the clouds, we're ready for semifinal action in the Pro Nitro Dragster. John Carey out of Dover, Delaware, with a 5:58, 260 mile an hour run in beating Connie Kalita. In the quarterfinals, will face Jack Ostrander from Pontiac, Michigan, who beat Richard Holcomb out of Stockbridge, Georgia, in his quarterfinal.
As you saw the note on the screen, Ostrander set a new track record, 265 mile an hour in the quarterfinals. He'll be going up against John Carey. They're staged and ready.
And in the far lane, it is Ostrander just walking away from Carey. He takes the lead at the start and holds it all the way to the finish. Boy, Ostrander looks unbeatable at this point.
Ostrander running in the 260s again, this time a 5:47, 264.70 mile per hour. Great victory for Jack Ostrander.
Boy, and the left lane once again emerges triumphant. Left lane appears to be the place to be at the Rock. Now, for our other semifinal matchup, it'll be Dan Pastorini, the former NFL star out of Richmond, Texas, with a 5:55 at 252 miles an hour in his quarterfinal matchup with Mike Brotherton. He will be up against the man himself, the snowman, Gene Snow, the oil man out of Fort Worth, Texas, who came in as #1 qualifier and beat Jerry Marconi in the quarters.
This is a matchup of the semifinal round that happened a couple of weeks ago at Norwalk, Ohio, where Pastorini stopped the domination of Gene Snow. Can he do it again?
Off the line, Snow with a very, very small lead. Here comes Pastorini, but Snow carries it on those little rubber tires all the way to the finish line. And Gene Snow reasserts his domination of Dan Pastorini.
Gene Snow now sets top speed of the meet. With that run, watch him. He leaves first on Mr. Pastorini. Let's see what happens as they get to the finish line. Gene Snow on top.
Brett Kepner is standing by with our winner.
Well, Gene, you certainly wrapped up that World Championship in style. Dan Pastrini's 5:53 didn't stand a chance against a 5:41 and a new track speed record of 268 miles an hour. Congratulations all the way around.
Thanks a lot. We're really enthused about it. We didn't get to work the clutch the run before, and this time I think it worked.
No question worked. The track record here in a lifetime is only a 5:39, so you're right on both ends, and that was a track speed record by 7 miles an hour. So it's a heck of a way to wrap up the IHRA World Championships.
Well, we're tickled to death. Thank you very much.
And so a new track record, icing on the championship cake for Gene Snow. Your Pro Nitro Dragster final will be the Snowman against Jack Ostrander. Snow will have lane choice. We move on now to the Pro Nitro Funny Car semifinals, and Doc Holliday, with a victory over Steve Hodkinson in the quarters, will be up against Paul Smith, a victor over Mike Edstrom in his quarterfinal matchup.
Paul Smith driving the car owned by Chuck Etchells, longtime drag racing professional. Doc Holliday, by the way, uses no computer. He relies strictly on his mechanic. There you see Paul Smith, quarterfinal time. Doc Holliday turning a 5:98. Paul Smith should be favored in this round. However, don't ever count the old doctor out. They're staged and ready. Holliday off first, and it looks like Paul Smith having all sorts of problems. Doc Holliday waltzes to an easy win over Paul Smith. Smith losing with a 6:11. Doc Holliday with a fine 5:83 with an incredible reaction time, .035.
Here's our other matchup now. Mark Oswald, the defending champion, who will match up with Connie Coletta. And Brett asked Mark about his championship chances.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have it wrapped up a little early, you know, but now we're just concentrating on winning this race.
Well, you have always seemed to perform exceptionally well at this racetrack. You hold the track speed record, and your 5:72 qualifying was #1 by a bunch.
Yeah, the car's running real well. It has been the last couple months. The racetrack's a little bit slippery in the middle, but we were happy with our 5:72. I think, you know, depending on how things go today, we may even be able to go a little quicker than that.
So Scott Coletta now warms up his Coletta Flying Service funny car and backs it back into position right over the marks he made during his burnout. Coletta with a 5:94, 252 mile an hour quarterfinal run. It was spectacular. Mark Oswald, a lot more impressive in terms of ET and top speed, but it was a great bit of driving that got Scott Coletta to this meeting with the IHRA World Champion.
Well, you can bet young Scott Coletta would like to dethrone the king, Mark Oswald. Oswald having won 5 nationals this year, and they're off together. Look at Oswald as he pulls on out front of Scott Coletta. Coletta giving him a good run, but what do you do against a dominant driver like Mark Oswald and the fantastic Candies and Hughes team?
And made all the more infamous by the fact that it's a brand new car this year. He's running in Ford products for the first time. Mark Oswald, half of your funny car matchup against Doc Holliday. Oswald will have lane choice. Time now for a quick fact, brought to you by Quaker State. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. Here's Brett.
When a Pro Nitro dragster or a Pro Nitro funny car driver is sitting in the cockpit before an elimination round, starting up the engine is not just a matter of turning on a key. As a matter of fact, it's a very complicated procedure. The key is this starter. It's actually the same as used by the U.S. military in firing up jet aircraft engines. The 32-volt starting system is hooked up to the top of the supercharger, and because the supercharger drive belt connects the supercharger and the crankshaft, that starter can spin the entire engine over. As the crew chief actually primes the fuel injection system, just the way the carburetor squirts gas in your car before you start it up, it enables the cylinders to get enough fuel to actually fire up when spark is given. Now, the spark signal is given either through the driver by throwing a switch or by a crew chief who has a switch on the starting mechanism. After that, hopefully the engine will come to life and it's time for a 250-mile-per-hour shot.
All right, thank you, Brett. Well, we've got championships and we've seen track records, but they pay money to win races. Coming up next, final round action. We're back at Rockingham in the IHRA U.S. Open Nationals on what has become a very sunny and warm North Carolina summer afternoon. Bob Barsha and Ted Jones with you for the Pro Alcohol Funny Car Final. In the near lane, Greg Moss out of Fenton, Missouri. In the far lane, Don DeFluter from Kent, Ohio.
You can bet Don DeFluter's heart is really beating hard now. If he could win this, he would give Bob Newberry absolute fits. But that man right there, Greg Moss, has other ideas. Greg Moss, finishing #2 last year in the world, is making a real comeback.
Now, you've got to expect Greg Moss to have his hands full with DeFluter, who had a faster ET and top speed in the semifinal round coming in, and we'll go by the semis because the temperature and track conditions are changing constantly here at the Rock as the temperature warms up. These drivers are really guessing, and they are away, and there's problems for DeFluter at the start line.
Don DeFluter just actually shuts it off. Greg Moss all the way through, and it looks like Greg Moss may have blown a motor or something, but I'll assure you he could care less. The reaction time for Moss, 0.068. Absolutely incredible. A 661 winning ET.
Well, talking about engine problems, there's more going on in the pro dragster pits, and Britt has more on that.
While Jack Ostrander's 300 bowl Pro Nitro dragster has been tearing up the track with 5.4-second elapsed times and speeds every round of over 264 miles per hour, he hasn't had a chance to talk to us very much today. After each and every round, the engine has had to come down to the bare engine block. But luckily for Jack and the rest of the 300 bowl crew, there hasn't been any engine damage to speak of. Right now, they're throwing the engine back together in preparation for their final round match with Gene Snow. And obviously, it's a little hectic here. But Ostrander, after the big win at the World Nationals, certainly rates a slight edge over Gene Snow. It's going to be an interesting final round battle.
Okay, thank you, Brett. In the meantime, we've got a pro stock final to deal with here, and it's going to be newly crowned IHRA champion Ricky Smith. You see him there, who came in with a victory over teammate Bob Glidden in the semifinals. He will meet Carl Kirk of Kermit, West Virginia, who overcame Bob Olson in his semi-heat.
Remember, Carl Kirk has been running very strong at this event, but Ricky Smith has won this event 4 years running. Ricky, it seems like, can do nothing wrong at the Rock.
Kirk has what appears to be the faster left lane, and Kirk is out easily at the start. He has about a quick car length advantage. Can he hold on? Yes, and Carl Kirk with a big victory, the first man to knock off the new champ.
Unbelievable as Carl Kirk drives the Ford Thunderbird to a victory. The first ever national event win for Carl Kirk. Look at the time, even quicker, a 7:32, 189 mile an hour. You see both drivers off together now. Carl Kirk still out in front. Ricky Smith pulling hard, doing everything he can, but to no avail.
It's the second time that this machine's been in the final round in 2 straight national events, and I think, as I said, we may have started a bright new career here this weekend.
Oh, there's one more race left, and I'd give anything to see it. No matter who's driving it, I'd like to see it, Terry. It's something them guys have always got. Anything I ever got, they can have. They're great.
Congratulations from ESPN.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Congratulations indeed to Carl Kirk and the whole family. Stand by. Nitro classes coming up.
You guys done a fine job tonight.
It's no secret that in order to be competitive in the Pro Nitro Funny Car ranks, it takes a $40,000 aluminum Chrysler Hemi, a $30,000 chassis, and about $70,000 worth of spare parts. But there's one man, and only one, in the Pro Nitro Funny Car ranks that seems to be able to get by with a lot less. Driving the only Chevrolet-powered nitro-burning funny car in Pro Funny Car drag racing today, Rick Deschner. And Rick, it takes an awful lot of perseverance to keep this up.
We'll keep trying until we get it right.
Well, over the years, you've become the fastest original Chevrolet-powered funny car driver at 218 miles an hour, but this engine isn't an aluminum replica. It's a truck motor.
No, not even. It's a passenger car 427.
It's incredible, and yet you run it on pretty healthy loads of nitromethane, and you're out here at the IHRA races just battling the big boys.
We try to annoy them and nip at their heels.
Well, you certainly succeeded over the years, and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, this is a man who's running a $30,000 funny car operation against some of the most expensive in motorsports.
Well, good luck in the future to Rick Deschner, but right now we got a final to deal with, and it's going to be this man, IHRA champion Mark Oswald out of Cleves, Ohio, against Doc Holliday from St. Paul, Minnesota.
This is Doc Holliday's first final round appearance in 1987. The Doc really needs to win this one. The independent, no factory backing, no big sponsor whatsoever against the giant, Mark Oswald. Oswald has won the U.S. Open title in 3 of the past 4 years.
Tough man to beat. Mark Oswald on any racetrack. You see the Candies and Hughes name there, known far and wide in drag racing circles, celebrating their 24th year of building drag racing machines. Paul Candies and Leonard Hughes, their man is Mark Oswald. But this man, Doc Holliday, has got every chance in the world of beating him.
This will be a Dodge Daytona body car up against the Motorcraft Thunderbird of Mark Oswald. So we've got a Chrysler versus Ford showdown here in the finals. And the fans are always interested to see that factory showdown.
Remember, the left lane, the one occupied by Mark Oswald, appears to be the faster. Doc Holliday will be in the near lane.
It'll be youth against age as young Mark Oswald. Let's see if he can lead first on Holliday very quick. And it looks like Doc Holliday red-lighted.
He did. Doc Holliday red-lighted at the start. He must have been thinking the same thing you were, Ted. I've got to get the drop on this guy if I'm going to beat him. We'll see it again.
There you see the front end of Doc Holliday rising. The red light comes on, and that's the total story.
Easy victory for Mark Oswald, and Brett Kepner is standing by with him now.
Mark, quite a way to end this event. Total domination of 5:69 in the final, with Doc Holliday doing everything he could, including red lighting, unfortunately.
Yeah, he was trying to cheat me out of one there. No, we were joking about it before. Those guys ran good. We're just happy to put the Motorcraft Thunderbird in the winner's circle. We had little things go wrong all year. It just feels nice to get back in the winner's circle.
You know, if you think back to Darlington, to the Winter Nationals with that supercharger explosion that I know shook you up mentally as well as far as the race car operation was going, it's a tremendous comeback. We're talking 2 wins here with the World Championship.
Yeah, you know, like I say, we really like it, especially having a new sponsor. It's nice to be able to, you know, do things like that for him.
I know you'll be looking forward to another World Championship next year. Of course, we still have one more race on the circuit, and Bristol is one of your tracks.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Good luck.
Thank you, Fred.
Good luck indeed to Mark Oswald, and you're watching as Gene Snow, a new IHRA champion, the Snowman, prepares for his final round matchup with Jack Ostrander in the Pro Nitro Dragsters. Each got here by going better than 264 miles an hour in the semis. Plenty of action to come your way as the U.S. Open Nationals continue from Rockingham in 1 moment. At Rockingham, North Carolina for the Pro Nitro Dragster final, and the fans here at Rockingham are on their feet for this one. Jack Ostrander will meet Gene the Snowman Snow.
Is Gene Snow back on top? He was stopped up in Norwalk, Ohio by Dan Pastorini. Jack Ostrander went on to win that event. But right here at Rockingham, Jack Ostrander set a new track record in this round where he turned 265.48 miles per hour. Not to be taken lightly. Gene Snow, though, winning 3 IHRA national events. And here at Rockingham, we watched as Gene Snow set this record, 268.65 miles per hour in the semifinals. So this is anybody's race, Ostrander or Snow. Who's it going to be, Bob?
You're asking me to pick, Ted? No way. Remember, left lane has been fast. Gene Snow is in it, and he gets off to a great start. He's got half a car length in the first 100 feet. All the way to the finish, a tremendous margin. Gene Snow just walks away from Jack Ostrander. We'll take a look at the ET and the speeds as you watch the happy crew.
Well, Gene Snow, that's his 3rd IHRA national event in 87. There, look at the ET 5.38. Snow continues to motor on. That is incredible.
Well, if you can't get a speed record, get an ET record, and that's what counts in drag racing. You saw as Gene Snow pulled it out at the start over Jack Ostrander and held it all the way to the finish.
You know, I think you have this all written on a script. A 5:38 gets you the track record. You wrapped up the World Championship. You got the track speed record. You couldn't do any better at this event.
Just win another couple of 100,000 will be fine.
Well, I'll tell you, with this kind of season-closing performance, you've certainly managed to establish something nobody else has done in this class, and that's domination.
Well, we're very, very happy. We're getting a new car, and I don't know how I can do any better than this, but we can hardly wait.
Anything interesting, any changes aerodynamically on the new one?
Well, not really. We're going to go to a longer car. Everybody said it's going to work better. We're going to find out, but I'm not selling this till we do.
That's understandable. Congratulations. Like I said, new track ET record, new track speed record, World Championship event win. You couldn't do any more.
Thanks. I'm very pleased.
A clean sweep for Gene Snow, who takes the championship in addition to the laurels in Pro Nitro Dragster class at the U.S. Open Nationals at Rockingham. Time now for our regular feature Sportsman of the Week. Here again is Brett Kepner.
Top Sportsman Eliminator. A conglomeration of the quickest, fastest, and hardest to control sportsman machines in the history of drag racing. It's one of the toughest classes to win at any event. But for the last drag racing season on the IHRA trail, one man has dominated this category, Terry Housley. And Terry, in just a one-year period, you've amassed 6 national event victories. It's an incredible job to do in that class.
Yes, we've had a lot of luck with the cars, though. The chassis builder, Tommy Mooney, and the engine builder, Gene Fulton, has played a lot of part. When you don't have no troubles, good luck, you know, it all goes pretty good.
Well, your luck has been astounding with 6 national event wins all in the space of 12 months. I got to ask you something. One of the tricks to your driving, your incredible consistency, is driving all the way down the track with a rag in your mouth. What's the purpose?
Well, you know, the heat and everything in the cars and everything. A lot of times that kind of takes my attention off of the nervousness and everything. So it's just more or less a habit. You know, I fell into it since Cincinnati last year, you know. So.
Unbelievable, but regardless, in 12 years, the reigning world champion and top sportsman eliminator is now leading the championship chase this year. Terry Housley is definitely the man to beat in top sportsman eliminator.
Taking a look at the sportsman results, Tommy Mooney, who crashed at Rockingham 2 years ago, wins top sportsman over Michael Martin. In modified, it was Tommy Porter from Suffolk, Virginia, defeating Ronald Griffiths. Moving on down to quick rod, Randy Cook from Ohio defeated Gordon Trevette from Apex, North Carolina. And in Superstock, David Jackson, the North Carolina ace, beat Augustus Atkins from West Virginia. In Super Rod, Gene Boulware, the former world champion, defeating Rob Slavinsky from Connecticut. Hot Rod winner was William Porter from Greenville, South Carolina, over the 57 Chevy of Mike Hawks. And in stock eliminator, Curtis Smith downed Alan Sharp, the Georgia ace.
Well, it's certainly been an eventful weekend here at Rockingham, and we'll be back in just a moment to total up the championships, the records set, and the money spent at the U.S. Open Nationals on ESPN. It's called the U.S. Open Nationals on the IHRA Championship drag racing circuit, but it might as well be called the Race of Champions at Rockingham, North Carolina, as Gene Snow has clinched the 1987 Pro Nitro Dragster Championship. You see Snow with an unassailable 3,930 points. The question is, can Dan Pastorini and Joe Amato catch runner-up Mike Brotherton?
And ESPN sends its congratulations to 3-time IHRA Pro Nitro Funny Car World Champion Mark Oswald, driver of the Motorcraft Thunderbird, the Candies and Hughes team on their World Championship, Doc Holliday and Kenny Bernstein in second and third.
Ricky Smith from King, North Carolina racks up his second IHRA World Championship at Pro Stock with 4,805 points. Bob Glidden, Tim Neighbors, and Billy Ewing all in arrears.
And Bob Newberry still being threatened. That contest wide open as Don DeFluter moves closer to dethroning Bob Newberry as the points leader.
Well, it's certainly been an eventful day here at the Rock. Ted, we've seen as Gene Snow, Mark Oswald, and Ricky Smith all clinch their world championships, but it is still wide open in pro alcohol funny car.
Greg Moss, better known as Moss the Boss. He's back on top once again in pro alcohol funny car. Arnie Karp didn't win for a change. Bob Newberry is in big trouble because Don DeFluter scored a so important runner-up finish. He moves closer to the points now on Newberry.
One event to go. There's going to be plenty of action still to come at Bristol. Let's go down to Brett Kepner now for his closing thoughts.
Looking back to the beginning of the 1987 IHRA Championship drag racing season, only one of the drivers we saw wrap up world championships here showed that he was on a ride for the whole year. That was Ricky Smith. Total domination with that one little slip at the IHRA World Nationals in Norwalk, Ohio, made him a world champion from the middle of the season on. However, in the Pro Nitro Funny Car ranks, nobody would have ever guessed that Mark Oswald would have come back from that fiery supercharger explosion at the beginning of the year to wrap it all up here, one race away from the end of the season. And in Pro Nitro Dragsters, nobody could win more than one race for the first 5 races, but then Gene Snow came along and changed all that. It's been an interesting day, as if nothing else, it proved that sooner or later the pros' stars will shine. Here at Rockingham International Dragway, we still have one more event on the IHRA season, the upcoming IHRA Fall Nationals at Bristol, Tennessee, and ESPN will once again be there. Back to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Brett.